Melissa Poza is joining us next. She is an expert on perfectionism. You can find her work at momqueen.com. Melissa, welcome to KFGO Radio.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I love this topic. You know, it wasn't long ago that the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction here in North Dakota, the state superintendent released results of our youth risk behavior study. And of course, this is telling us about what risky behavior students in North Dakota are having. It saw that they were drinking less, that they're using tobacco less. However, the scary thing is that we see an increased percentage of students these days who have extended periods of feeling sad or hopeless. Students who have seriously considered suicide. And when you are brought to my attention as someone who talks about perfectionism, there are a lot of studies out there that are saying that perfectionism could lead to this depression we're seeing at higher rates in students. Do you think that that's the case?
Absolutely. I think we put a lot of pressure on our kids. I mean, pressure to be involved in their communities, in their sports, pressure on their academics. And as parents, I think we need to absolutely lay down those boundaries and guidelines for them and lead by example. Not only depression, though. Look at, so many kids with anxiety these days because of that pressure that we can place on them.
I always think, is it screens? Is it social media? Is it video games? Is it, all of these things that we didn't have when we were growing up? But I never went... if you take it a step further, all of those things lead to the idea of having to be perfect, right? Having the perfect Instagram feed or whatever it could be.
Yeah, all that combination. We as adults face the same thing. I think, my book, Basic B, is about that. As women, as grown women, we feel the pressure to be the perfect mom, be the perfect wife, have the perfect house setting and have the perfect holidays. And that places a lot of pressure on ourselves and just leads to our anxiety. And then we feel like we cannot mount up to these false images other people are portraying. And in reality, we all have a different side of perfect. We're all our unique selves. And the image that if we put an image of ourselves out there as perfect, other people feel like they have to mount up to that or compare to that. And if we lay down and put our real selves out there, it'll help somebody else relate to you more.
So tell us what you believe parents and teachers can do, because that's the bottom line. Now we know what part of the problem might be. What are we going to do to fix it?
I think the first thing that we need to do is set our boundaries. I think as parents, that should be our role. I myself have had that happen to my own children. I put so much pressure on them to have good grades, be involved, and they were playing and overcommitted. And my son was literally physically sick. And when we took him to the doctor, they said, well, who's the parent here? It's not, he doesn't have this or that. We thought he had, some kind of disease spells. And they said he's not dehydrated and he's overcommitted. He needs the downtime, off the screens, off the sports, and off the book, and just be a kid. And so as a parent, I think the first thing that we need to do is set those boundaries for our children.
JJ is my partner here on KFGO. You work with students on a weekly basis at the high school level. Do you think they're overcommitted and is part of being perfect part of what's leading to depression?
Oh, I think 100%. I think kids today want to have that perfect college resume, so they need to be involved in X number of clubs. And then once you get involved in X number of clubs, you want to be the secretary or the president of that club. And it just mounts and mounts. It's not a matter of, on Tuesday nights I'm going to go and be a part of French club. It's Tuesday nights I've got to go and I've got to get this done, plus I've got all my homework. What amazes me is we're living in an era where so much is at your fingertips as far as technology, as far as communication, but it seems to have made things more isolating. Do you find that perfectionism is and isolation go hand in hand, Melissa?
Yeah, absolutely, because you're putting so much pressure on yourself. And it's in between your two ears. It's all in your mind. But it also makes us so self-conscious and so absorbed and try to work so hard on being perfect that you spend all your time unsocial.
I think the other hard part is there's nothing wrong with some high standards. There's just there's a line.
Right.
How do you find that line between you have high standards and you're pushing your child to be perfect?
Yeah. Well, like you said, it is a fine line. It is a new year. Everybody has goals and sets goals for the new year for themselves, for their families, and for their children. But at the same time, I think the most important thing that you have to do is be realistic about that, and that'll help determine that fine line. If you have realistic goals and realistic visions for yourself and your children, then you're not kind of overstepping and over pushing them. And give them breaks. Breaks are needed for everybody. We all need timeouts every day.
Do you feel?
I'm sorry?
Melissa, do you feel like the perception of perfection has changed in pop culture over the years? I remember specifically my mother once telling me, "I'm not June Cleaver." And she meant it, but there was an era where every mom on TV was this perfect mom, and as my mother would tell you, the Bradys had a housekeeper, JJ. And nowadays, I think we've kind of gone the opposite, and most television shows don't feature a perfect parent. And so, I mean, do you feel like there's a difference there with the perception of perfection?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just like your definition of success. It's always evolving. You said things mount up, and that's actually so right on. Because when we have goals and you figure you get there, it's like climbing a ladder that never ends, because your definition of perfection and success constantly is evolving the older you get. So it's like a dog chasing its tail because you're constantly striving for something. And so those boundaries is very, very key to have balance in that.
You can find Melissa's work at momqueen.com. She's got a new book, Practical Advice from a Real Mom Queen. It's called Basic B. I can't say the rest of it on air.
Right.
But you get my point.
basicbbook.com.
There you go. Melissa, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day.